I want to talk about the AP preseason All-America list because this is historic in that this is as close to playing football some of these cats is going to be, right? Or going to be. So I want to go through it player by player, and then I want to talk about what the ramifications are of this. So at the top is Trevor Lawrence at quarterback on the first team offense, right? At Clemson, we understand. Could be the number 1 overall pick in 2021. Whether he plays football or not, he very much wants to play this season. And I, like you, will watch him play as much as I can. Chuba Hubbard at tailback, of course, over 2,000 yards rushing at Oklahoma State last year. And until last year, we were thinking Tylan Wallace is the best player on that football team. Now that's no longer true, and Tylan Wallace is back. So Spencer Sanders, don't throw 11 interceptions this year, and y'all might have an opportunity not just to play for a Big 12 championship, but for a national championship in a weird year. Travis Etienne, junior tailback at Clemson. Again, yards per carry and per touch, best back in the league, right? That's what I would say. Best back in the ACC. Perhaps best back in all of college football returning based on what he can do if you just hand him the rock. At offensive tackle, Penei Sewell, who's a dude that looks slim at 315 pounds at Oregon. Not going to get to see him play. Alex Leatherwood at offensive tackle at Alabama. Going to get to see him play. He came back for another year and quite honestly didn't have to because there were folks that believed that he was a first-round draft pick last year. We'll see if he can actually do something to even improve his stock maybe. Maybe be a top 5 pick for next year. Or maybe we're talking about him the way that we were talking about Tristan Wirfs. Wyatt Davis, junior at Ohio State. Trey Smith, senior at Tennessee. Creed Humphrey, a center, junior, redshirt at Oklahoma. The anchor on Bill Bedenbaugh's offensive line. Bill Bedenbaugh had some great things to say about his offensive line yesterday at media availability via the Zooms. And for Bedenbaugh to shower some praise on his players means the world to OU fans because Bedenbaugh is not a man to mince words. He, like Alex Grinch, sugarcoats nothing. He's the first person to point out all the things that he does not like. He's also the dude stalking the sideline when he might see a personal foul and his cheek starts to twitching like he's about to come unglued. It's one of my favorite things. Then we got Pat Freiermuth at Penn State as tight end. Jamar Chase, LSU wide receiver. Devontae Smith, Alabama wide receiver. Rondale Moore, who plays wide receiver at Purdue, makes it as an all-purpose player. And then Keith Duncan, a senior at Iowa, makes it as a kicker. Kayvon Thibodeau, a sophomore at Oregon, had 9.5 sacks as a true freshman. Outstanding. Greg Rousseau, junior at Miami, opted out. Marvin Wilson's going to play. And I can't wait to see Marvin Wilson play football because he has made his name earlier this year, calling Mike Norvell out on the carpet, showing who's actually in charge there. And we'll see what he can do in an ACC where there are lots of people that see Florida State as being able to surprise some folks. Jalen Twyman, junior at Pitt at defensive tackle. Micah Parsons, junior at Penn State, opted out. Hamilcar Rashid at Oregon State, senior, doesn't get to play. Dylan Moses, senior at Alabama, we can't wait to see him play. Derek Stingley Jr., sophomore cornerback at LSU. Sean Wade, junior at Ohio State, was going to be a captain on this team. He ain't playing. Richard LeCount, a senior safety at Georgia, going to try to take over that leadership role vacated by one J.R. Reed, a Paycom Jim Thorpe Award finalist. Andre Cisco, also a junior at Syracuse, the rare Syracuse player, making a preseason All-American team, let alone the first team. And then Max Duffy, a punter at Kentucky. On the second team offensively, we got Justin Fields, Ohio State, Najee Harris, Alabama, Kenneth Gainwell. Watch as much Memphis football as you possibly can. They're going to be fun with him in the backfield. Could be a steal in the second round. Maybe he gets snatched in the first. We'll see. Sam Cosmi at Texas, offensive tackle. Cole Van Lanen at senior at Wisconsin, offensive tackle. Nolan Laufenberg, senior at Air Force, the rare Air Force player, let alone the offensive line that makes an All-American list, right? Elijah Vera Tucker at USC, offensive guard, makes this list. Out of a air raid. That's impressive. Tyler Lindenbaum, a junior at Iowa, also right there in that Creed Humphrey category of great center. Charlie Kolar, Norman native, Iowa State tight end, making it as a preseason second team All-American. Tylan Wallace, I mean, that dude can just play. Like, any other year first team. Rashad Bateman opted out of Minnesota. He makes this team. Jalen Waddle makes it as an all-purpose player obviously a wide receiver playing the capstone position at Alabama, and then Gabe Burkich, who still has not missed a field goal. That man was not even thought of last year at this time. Now he is a preseason All-American, one of two for Oklahoma. Defensively, Carlos Basham, which is a great name for a defensive end at Wake Forest. Quincy Roche, who played at Temple last year, led the league with sacks and was Defensive Player of the Year in the American before grad transferring. Jay Tufele at junior at USC. I mean, Todd Orlando's going to have dudes. Levi Onwuzurike. I'm going to mess this up. Onwuzurike at Washington, defensive tackle. Chaz Surratt, I know his name. 115 tackles last year at North Carolina. North Carolina, my goodness. Nick Bolton at Missouri can play. Patty Fisher coming out of Houston by going to Northwestern. He's a senior this year. Doesn't get to play. Patrick Surtain, the second, junior at Alabama, and perhaps one of those guys that we'll be talking about as a finalist for the Jim Thorpe Award. Caleb Farley opted out of playing at Va Tech. Javon Holland doesn't get to play at Oregon. Trevon Moehrig at junior at Texas Christian. It seems like safeties and corners just get greenlit by TCU. That's how good they are. And then a Rutgers punter, Adam Korsak, makes this squad. All right, so these dudes are not going to play football this year. Penei Sewell, Wyatt Davis, Pat Freiermuth, Rondale Moore, Keith Duncan, Kayvon Thibodeau, Greg Rousseau, Micah Parsons, Hamilcar Rashid, Sean Wade, and the punter, Adam Korsak at Rutgers. What? Like, the preseason All-American list might be the most definitive of all the American lists that we get. Like, when we get the finalist list later on in the year, assuming we get through a year of college football, I can't wait to see dudes that, normally would never get thought of end up as finalists. In a year in which Central Arkansas is absolutely trying to take on everybody. If I play at the University of Arkansas and I go 500 with the schedule, I'm looking at the NFL going, I'm a first-round draft pick. My name is Bumper Poole. My name is Levi Draper. My name is Felipe Franks. I'm Trey Knox. I'm Trey Burke. Right? Like, what? And also, if you were fortunate enough to get an offer from Arkansas last year at the turn of the regime, and you end up signing, now you get to see actually what you're made of in a way that nobody ever or after will get an opportunity to see what they're made of, because Arkansas' schedule has been described as everything from cruel to absolutely a rock fight. And I could get there. There are 23 players on this All-American list that have first-round grades, right? Might not get drafted in the first round, but they got first-round grades. And all but like 5 of them make the top 50 list for most NFL draft analysts. And what's even more remarkable is the number of top 50 players on Dane Bugler's draft board at The Athletic that come from the Big Ten and the SEC. 15 players from the Big Ten make his list, 14 from the SEC. That's 29 of 50. So already we're down almost a third of the top players in the country ain't playing football in 2020. ACC's got 12. Pac-12's got 4. Big 12's got 3. Big 12's got 3. Conference USA's got 1. And, of course, Missouri Valley Conference has Trey Lance. That is the indictment on this league. That you could just have 3 when the Big Ten has 15. Quite literally 5 times as many. That you have 3 when the ACC has 12. Quite literally 4 times as many. People want to know why the Big 12 is not taken seriously. There it is. There are the numbers. That's why. That's why we rank them as we do. And why the Big Ten has more in common with the SEC than they do anybody else. And why the Big Ten can look at Oklahoma and being like, yo, how many more times y'all gonna keep putting them in the playoff? You know that we would give a better game to whomever it is, Clemson or whatever SEC team. Because it ain't gonna be a Pac-12 team, is what we believed. All these things matter when you're talking about the prowess of one league as to another. And until the Big 12 continues to start to recruit like the Big 10 and the SEC, I expect this to stay the same. Because with the new rankings coming out yesterday with Rivals redoing its top 250, it's Ohio State, Alabama 1 and 2. It's Clemson 3. Right? It's Florida in there. It's LSU at number 5. Oklahoma is ranked 14th. And that's the best team in the team rankings in the latest 2021 rankings. 14th. How do you expect to compete when Ohio State and Alabama are 1-2 and LSU is 5? How do you expect to compete when Florida is at 8? You're going to have to outkick the coverage on that one. And usually, that ain't what happens. Usually, you get beat like you stole something. You get the Peach Bowl.